Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome, and thanks for being here. I spent my hobby time this week preparing for the Fenway show. I talked about all these great cards I'm purchasing for the National being funded by selling what's currently in my cases. So as I continue to sell cards, I have holes to fill in my cases. I also have been carrying my value dollar boxes to shows, and they've been the same boxes that I've been carrying. I really haven't updated them because there's so many cards in them, right? So if I go to a show and I sell 30 or 40 cards out of a value box, it doesn't even look like it made a dent sometimes. Um, but it was starting to look like a little bit of dent in the boxes, and I felt like they were getting a little stale. Like, the same, a lot of times we see the same people at the same shows, and they go through the boxes and they start to see the same cards. Um, and a lot of them just aren't selling. So I decided I had time this week. It was time to make a new value box. So I pulled out the plastic containers. And God, do I have a lot of plastic containers around here with cards in them. But I pulled the ones out with football cards, all rookies from 2020, 21, 22. And most of those rookies are quarterbacks, believe it or not, because those are the ones that I kept the most. A lot of and like the top draft pick wide receivers, stuff like that. But the linemen, things like that. A lot of those went, I got rid of those already. So these are the ones that I thought over time they were worth saving. Uh Sadly mistaken. I remember all the boxes of wax I was ripping, all the breaks I bought into. Man, I could not get enough. I was buying blaster boxes 10 at a time, right? It was during or just at the end of COVID, right? Chasing downtowns, kabooms, numbered cards, color parallels, patches, autos, whatever I can get out of those. Um, and as I go through all these cards and I realize there's really nothing more than just dollar box stuff here, stuff that I thought at the time was, going to have some value in it. And I think what had happened was most of the cards at the time that did have value, probably had moved them over the last couple of years. And probably at the same time, they probably aren't worth any more than they were worth when I pulled them out of the box. So I don't think they've gained or lost any value. I think they're probably the same price. So I got a brand new 5-row box, and I filled it up, like 95, 96% rookies, all football singles, 3 full rows of $1 cards, 1 row of $2 cards, and 1 row of like $3 to $30 cards, right? The patches, the numbered cards, things like that. Even some autographs in there of some players that, are still playing, but the market determines that, there's not much value in their autographed rookie card, I guess. And believe it or not, I probably have enough to fill almost another 5-row box. Um, so I just decided I wanted to get a good mix of cards and put them in this box and see how well this goes. And if it goes well, I've got more reinforcements to backfill depending how well they sell. And I'm almost excited. I mean, doing this has really gotten me excited because I haven't really had, that much, I want to say, excitement getting ready for a show. To me, it's, I don't mind doing it, but it's long and drawn out. You got to go through every card. That I usually start, Wednesday or Thursday going through, making sure I've got all the stuff. And if I have more stuff to put in boxes, do I need to backfill anything? And usually Friday night before a show, going through pricing all the slabs that are going to be in the cases. So I know exactly what the current comps are. And, you know, I think as a dealer, it looks better. Like if it's fresh in my mind and somebody comes up and they pull their phone out and they start looking, at the price of a car, and they go, oh, the last, I got it for 200. The last sale was like 140. And I said, are you sure about that? I thought there was a 185 sale and I think a 180 sale. Oh yeah, but there was a 140. Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I understand that, but I already knew. I didn't have to take the time to look it up. I already knew there was a couple higher sales. Then we worked from there, but I mean, I think it helps me as a dealer, um, knowing immediately, my prices, the comps, and what the last couple sales were on it. But it's all, is it mundane? It's not exciting stuff. So, in the last 2 days filling up this box, I was having fun. I was having fun. I was going through cards. I was saying, "Oh, I remember this. I remember that card. I remember pulling some of these cards." I started looking at prices. I mean, I wasn't excited about the prices. Um, but they're value boxes, right? So anything that's, up to $3 has ended up in the dollar row. Anything that's, $4 or $5 or $3 to $5 is ending up in the $2 row. And then anything over that, the other row is, $5 and up from there in the fifth row. So, and if it works out well, which I think it will, I'll have another box to fill. I'll have another one to backfill on that, and I can get some. That brings action to my table too, which I really like sometimes. And I remember early on when I didn't have many great cards in my cases when I first started setting up, but I have these value boxes. It was bringing people to the table, and I was getting sales from it. But as I look out at this 5-row box, I think you hear me talk about this all the time. It's found money at this point. Realistically, it's lost money. It's money that I spent on this stuff, but right now it's found money because it's 2 years out or 3 years out. Um, I don't want to look at it negatively as lost money because it was a great form of entertainment. I was truly entertained when ripping, that wax. I couldn't wait for it to show up. I ordered it. I would, we all do this. We order something. We're always checking the tracking on it. It brings. I was thinking today, and it's funny. I should bring this up now. I was thinking today that I know when whatever's going to be in my mailbox today, when I wake up in the morning from informed delivery from the post office to you go to track the package on eBay. I mean, I can remember back at a time like you would be hoping something was showing up in the mail and you would go to the mailbox every single day and you were either happy it was there or, oh, man, it's not here today, maybe tomorrow. And now you've got 24 hours to wait again. And now being this informed, I mean, I know everything that's showing up in my mailbox, So yeah, I would be waiting for these packages to come. And I knew I was getting ready. I'd order, say, 10 of these blaster boxes, and I would, pace myself, and 3 tonight, 3 tomorrow night, whatever. And when I was getting to day 3, I'd be like, "Oh, start looking again. Let's get a few more coming. We'll take a few days off and start opening more again." And I was getting into breaks. I loved watching breaks. I still do. Uh, I would not have changed any of it, anything at all about this time in the hobby for me. It was, again, like I said, a great form of entertainment, and I was truly entertained. So I feel the money that was put out there was paying for my entertainment, right? My enjoyment. Um, so many lessons learned. And when it comes to breaks, when I'm working here in the office, I still watch probably 3 to 5 breaks a week. I just find breaks. And I have no vested interest at all in them, just purely entertainment, but I put it on and I'm working away. And you can always tell when a great card's about, they slow roll a great card, and I pick my head up and, I'm watching this great card being pulled. Um, And you know what? It's not mine, but that's the way it was in the breaks too. The cards were never mine anyways. There was a great card coming. I was the unlucky one. It usually was not my card. I had one time that it was my card. Um, it took a long time for me to truly understand when people would say, buy the card and not the box it could be in. I understood that statement from the get go. I mean, but I felt that it was something I wanted to do. It was something I wanted to experience. And when I did go out and experience, like I talked about the entertainment part of it, I really enjoyed it. So if I'm having fun doing it, why stop? Um, so as I continued to grow in the hobby, I started finding entertainment in other places. I didn't need to be buying wax. I didn't need to be jumping into breaks. I found entertainment in other places. And as I'm reflecting back, kind of, we want to call it my hobby evolution, right? How I evolved or how I'm evolving in the hobby. I'm glad I experienced everything because it left nothing to the imagination for me. I can say I was there, I did that, I was part of that, and anybody talks about it, I know exactly what they're saying, right? It's not like I came in and I was sheltered in the hobby and I listened to what every single person told me, don't do this, do that. Um, because what works and doesn't work for me in my journey is different for each individual. That's their journey. What works for them, it doesn't work for me. So as we could, even though the hobby is a great place to be around people, to be around like-minded people and meet all kinds of people, we all have a different experience. All of us, none of us have the same exact experience. And some of us like to do things that other of us think are a dumb idea. Right? But if we're being entertained or they're being entertained or they're happy spending their money that way, then so be it. So be it. There's no reason anybody should be telling anybody else how they should be hobbying, right? We all have our it's our own journey. And for me, experiencing all these things has helped me really focus on the things that I do in the hobby. Being a dealer, when I started out being a dealer, it was the perfect storm. I mean, it didn't matter what you were putting in your case, as long as it was a quarterback, people were buying it, right? Could be first rookie, second year, third year, fourth year, just people were buying these cars. You didn't even have to have a business plan, just show up at a show and put your stuff in, and it was selling. Um, and then the hobby changed, right? And then you really had to come up with a plan. You had to know what you were doing in this hobby. And there were lessons I had to learn along the way, and I learned on my own. I learned from watching other people, but at the end of the day, I was able to put a business plan together, for being a dealer and for my own PC, right? For the stuff that my own personal collection. Um, when I first started setting up as a dealer, I was constantly leveling up. I was listening to the people around me, level up, level up, level up. Take these cards and money and keep trading up to bigger and bigger and bigger. And in season one of the podcast, I talked about feeling like I was gaining status in the hobby with my fellow dealers because I had these more expensive cards in my case. Man, I couldn't have been any more wrong. When I went back and I was listening to some episodes and I heard myself say that, I was shaking my head. And it was part of my journey, right? It was the lessons that I learned. Um, you know, I was watching what was somebody else's journey, somebody else's path. It wasn't mine. I needed to create my own, not emulate what somebody else was doing. Maybe take the sum of all these other people, but it needed to be for me. It needed to be about what I want to do and how I can be successful and how I can have fun. 4 lessons I learned from that. It's much harder to sell a 3,000 plus card at a show. Anything over 3K, it's harder to sell that at a show. Um, When the market dips, the losses are greater. It's easier to sell 10 $500 cards than one $5,000 card at any show. And the higher the price of the card, the more of a discount the buyer wants. I've always noticed that. If you're selling $100 card, they want to take 10 or $20 off. Selling $1,000 card, they want $100 off. If you're 2,000, 3,000, they want hundreds of dollars off a card. And I don't know why that's the mindset in the hobby, but it's what people ask for. Through trial and error, I'm finding my lane. Uh, as a dealer in the hobby, as a collector in the hobby. And I realize the card market is always changing. It never stays the same. Um, when I look back at all the things that have changed in the hobby, just in the last few years since I started setting up as a dealer, it's just unbelievable how much things have changed. And I remember doing an episode talking to Alex from Ideal Cards and John from Behind the Diamond, a couple guys that have been in the hobby for many years. And, they just talked about cycles. Like they watched it. If you're in the hobby long enough, you see all these cycles keep repeating themselves. So it's interesting that some of these guys who have been in the hobby a long time, they stay successful because they kind of know what's coming next. So these are the guys I kind of keep my eye on, right? I can't go out and emulate everything, but I can listen, I can watch, I can see what they're doing just to kind of get a feeling of what's coming next in the hobby. It doesn't mean it's 100% right, but it's kind of how I figure things out. I even switched up my inventory plan for the national, based on the current state of the hobby and what is selling. My original plan is what worked last year. And what was last year was then, and this is a new year, right? So what I saw happening at shows, I knew I needed to switch it up a little. I needed to switch my inventory up, what I was going to be putting on my case at the national, uh, just taking out there. And so far, I'm pretty confident. I've done the right thing. I've made the right changes, but only time is going to tell if I was 100% successful or not. Just for me, just trying to keep up with the pulse of the hobby. When it came to my PC, as much as I love prospecting, and of course, obviously ripping and getting into breaks is mostly 100% prospecting, right? Unless you're buying, old boxes of wax, but it's 100% prospecting. And as much as I love prospecting, I wanted to diversify my collection with some prospecting and like some Hall of Famers, right? So, one of the people and I talk about this that I collect is Mike Tyson. Um, here's a guy who's the same age as I am, right? And I can remember him. I talked about this. I remember watching him, and being a fan of his growing up. So I really enjoy getting his stuff. And it just, it hits me a certain way, and I really enjoy having it. Now I'll jump to Hall of Famers, right? I started collecting WNBA stuff, and just collecting mostly Hall of Famers there. And there's not many of us out there. I'm starting to connect with people out there that I'm finding out that have these cards. I talked to on the last episode about meeting a guy that I was meeting a listener at a show that was selling on PWCC, and I was buying his cards, right? So instant friendship there now, and a few more people I've talked to along the way that do that too. And we all kind of agree on the same thing. I mean, the WNBA tipped off, June of 1997. That's only 26 years ago. It's really in its infancy to where it's going to end up going. So I think it's kind of a neat lane for me to get in and get in early, the way I look at it. Um, on the prospecting end of it, I started collecting Trinity Rodman. Um, I love the idea of being able to identify a player that is super exciting to watch, super talented, um, and who I think is going to have a great career. Uh, I'm excited by a lot of things, but most importantly, I'm able to start collecting her in her rookie year, right? Because that's one of the things that I think becomes the most important if you're going to collect somebody. Like when you turn around and say, "Oh, I want to start collecting, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady in 2019 or 2020 for Mahomes," or it's too late. It's too late to get. I mean, if you could spend the money, it's never too late, I guess, if you have, the money to do it. But you know, being able to collect a player and identify a player who you think might have a great career and start collecting them, their rookie year, getting in on the ground floor and just picking up all those cards that are just, really cool to have, that especially these cards that are numbered to 25 and 50 and 99, and being able to own as many of those. And I'm picking so many up in PSA 10s, and I'm having stuff graded. So I'm really excited. I'm excited with her. I'm excited with my collection of her. And other soccer players too as well. Sophia Smith, I've been picking up some of her stuff. Alyssa Thompson, brand new rookie, drafted last year. Starting to pick up some of her stuff too. So it's a little prospecting end on the on the NWSL. But I guess there'll always be a little bit of prospecting in me to do. Um, but what a journey this has been over the last couple years. The lessons I've learned, the people I've met, the friends I've made. Um, and I alluded to this earlier about being in a break and being the guy that pulled V card, right? Because that's the one question I guess asked a lot when people meet me for the first time and we chat a little. They always say, "I want to ask you, did you ever receive that Patrick Mahomes card? The Panini Black was an on-card auto, number to 10. It was a redemption card." That I won in a break, probably one of the very first breaks. Within probably 5 or 6 breaks I was in, I hit this monster card, and it was a redemption. And at the time, I really didn't understand the redemption, because before that, I had some Topps redemptions, baseball redemptions, and I sent them out, and they came right back. Like, at that time, it was like 30 days I was getting it back, and I just assumed. And I remember people saying, "Oh man, you'll be waiting a while on this one." I'm like, "No, it can't be that long. How long could it be?" So at this point, you probably already know the answer, because it's only been just under 3 years of me waiting. But no, not yet. I still have not received that card. This weekend is the Fenway show. My good friend Rob Gerard has gotten a Saturday pass, so he'll be set up with me on Saturday at Fenway. Uh, Definitely come by and say hello. On Saturday night, I will be on Sports Card Live with Jeremy Lee, 10 p.m. Eastern or East Coast time. Um, it will be live on YouTube, so definitely check that out too. That's all I have for you. I'll be back Monday with a recap of the Fenway show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. And until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.